I was going to ask you this before we got on camera, but I'll ask you now since we're rolling. Do you pronounce it Kasdan or Kasdan?
You know, I don't know. Honest to God, it's been a problem my whole life. It's Kasdan, I think. But I say Kasdan. People spell it every which way. I don't know. Whatever you like.
All right.
It's fielder's choice.
If I say hello, I'm Bobbie Wygant, you would say I'm Larry
Kasdan.
Okay.
But I don't speak terribly clearly, so it's a problem. You can't judge anything from me.
Okay. Larry, anyway.
Yeah.
Big Chill, I think, is going to be a big hit. Hope so.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Good film. Good film. Was this a film that every studio wanted?
This is a film that no studio wanted. I had a terrible time setting it up. And I went all over town with it. No one thought that it could make any money. And I thought they were crazy. It seemed to me that if you made a funny film about people's lives, that people would come out and see it. And then I was, luckily, a series of events led me to Martian Asseter at the Carson Company. And the Carson Company had a relationship with Columbia. And Guy McElwain and Frank Price at Columbia were the only ones that had the courage to say, yes, we'll make this movie even though it's a little odd. And they believed in it.
Does Carson have any say-so at all about the film projects?
You mean
Johnny Carson?
Johnny Carson. He's not terribly involved with his production company, but he has a kind of overview and his final word. Before we went ahead with this, I met with Johnny and he gave it his blessing.
Yeah. Do you think that's the eventual route, that he'll be producing films more than...
I have no idea what he really wants to do. I'm not sure how this company even came about. He's an important entity in Hollywood.
Yeah. A couple of things I wanted to ask you about the film. First of all, the character Sarah, Glenn Close. She, and we don't want to give this away yet, that people can see this when they see the film, but she makes a request of her husband, and he fulfills the request. Some people are, going to find that just a hard thing to believe. Now, I've been giving it some thought, wondering if perhaps she did it out of guilt because she had had an affair with a man.
I think that's possibly an element in it. I think that it's a complicated decision she comes to. And in a way, it's the working out of what the whole movie is about, which is it possible to help people? These are good friends, and the question that arises over the course of the weekend is whether they can have an effect on each other's lives. One of their friends has committed suicide, and they're questioning whether there was anything they could have done to prevent it. And they have to examine the fact that a lot of them had let that character slip out of their lives, had not been terribly concerned about what was happening to them. This raises the whole issue of whether they can help other people. And the act that the Sarah character does, the gift she gives, which is a big one and a deeply important one, is working out of that. She decides she can help one of her friends in an important way. It's an extravagant act, but it's not necessarily unbelievable to me.
Another question I have, the William Hurt character. He is impotent. Is it because of his drug usage, or did he actually have an injury in Vietnam?
I don't see it as having had an injury, but I think that he had a rupture in his life in Vietnam. He had an experience which was so brutal and dark that something has happened to him. I don't see it as a physical impotence, but something else.
Psychological?
Yeah.
And are the drugs part of it?
Well, I don't think they help, but I think it's a complicated thing of why he has somehow stopped living in a certain way.
Larry, is this movie in any sense autobiographical? In other words, are we experiencing some of the thoughts and some of the things that you went through in the 60s and up to the present?
Absolutely. It's very personal. Barbara Benedict wrote the movie with me, and I think that all these characters are conglomerations of things in us and in our things we've seen in our friends. These are issues that are very real in my life. And the problems that the people are having are things that our friends are having. Problems that our friends are having.
Are you establishment now?
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure what makes you establishment. I don't know. What do you mean?
Well, as opposed to being a nonconformist.
I don't think about my life in those terms, really. And I think, I mean, if you mean in Hollywood, I try to do good work. Sometimes that makes me feel lonely, but there are other times when I feel there are a lot of people doing really good work. That's all I've ever tried to do, not to react to any other standard, you know.
The William Hurt character seems to me that maybe you had him in mind when you wrote it.
And that was the one part where I knew who would play it. I sort of wrote it for Bill. We had worked together on Body Heat, and it had been a very enriching, wonderful experience, and I think he's a wonderful actor, very powerful. It was the only part in the movie where I knew ahead of time that I wanted to use a certain actor.
Well, I think the incredible thing is, Larry, that you were able to get all of these outstanding people together at the same time, because it is an ensemble film and a very good film. I've enjoyed the opportunity to meet you and talk with you.
Well, thank you very much.
And thank you. You think Lucas...
Okay, these are your nods. Smiles.
And sound for questions. Is this a picture every studio wanted? Does Johnny Carson have some input as far as the film projects is concerned? That was not grammatically correct. Yeah, I thought that sounded strange. Does Johnny Carson have any input as far as the film projects are concerned? Are you establishment now? Establishment as opposed to, yes, this last part, okay, oh, okay. Are you establishment now? Establishment as opposed to nonconformist. Is The Big Chill in any sense at all autobiographical? The William Hurt part seems to me maybe you wrote it for him, did you? William Hurt's character is impotent. Now, is this a result of an injury or drug usage? Is the drug usage a part of that? Glenn Close's character, Sarah, does something, we don't want to give it away, but she does something that a lot of people are wondering, you know, just think that really, making a mess of that. Yeah. We don't want to give away, but the Glenn Close character does something that people find maybe a little bit hard to believe. Why did she do that? Was it out of guilt? Okay, all right.